a dude I had the kind of faith it takes to climb out of this boat I'm in and onto the crashing waves, to step out of my comfort zone into the realm of the unknown where Jesus is, and he's holding out his hand, but the waves are calling out my name and they laugh at me, reminding me of all the times I tried before and failed. The waves keep on telling me time and time again, boy.
Tanner sat in rapt attention as his grandpa, now very old it seemed to him, his hands wrinkles displayed prominently as he held his now ancient Kindle reader in his hands. "But is he safe?" Lucy asked the beaver. Tanner had already read this almost 100-year-old story written by C.S. Lewis, who was some guy he knew his grandpa loved, but was, for the Tan Man, just an even older dude. But the Narnia Chronicles he loved, and still more, he loved hearing his grandfather's now crackling voice find its rhythms in a story that Grandpa said had impacted his own life decades before. "Safe?" the beaver asked. "No, Lucy, Aslan is not safe, but he is good." Tanner broke into the story and, looking up and into his grandpa's eyes, commented, "Aslan is Jesus of Narnia." Grandpa Tearbear, as the Tanner had called him, just smiled at the phrasing and wondered if the Tan Man did not have his own gifts of language buried within him, and nodded, "Yes, Tanner. Well put. Aslan is Jesus of Narnia." The next question Tanner asked caused Grandpa to pause and put down the Kindle. "But I wonder," Tanner Jacob continued, "I wonder who Jesus in the Tan Man's land is." He paused and added, "Grandpa, am I a Christian? I don't much feel like one." "And what is a Christian supposed to feel like, anyway?" Closing the Kindle and buying a little time before answering, Grandpa at last spoke. "Well, Tanner, yes, you are Christian. That is true enough. But you may not be real. Or, put differently, Jesus may not yet be real to you. That's a different thing." And Grandpa Terry looked down and into his grandson's own eyes, now filled with questions, and so continued, "Grab Grandpa another cup of coffee, and let me tell you a story." The Tanner, who sometimes wished his grandpa would play catch or go for long walks, was nevertheless delighted in hearing his grandpa's stories, and so quickly grabbed the coffee from the Keurig. "Kiri," Tanner spoke to the Keurig coffee maker as though just another member of the household, "1 breakfast pike, short 2 creams." Just as he knew his grandpa liked, and waited the 5 seconds, grabbed the hot steaming cup and brought it to his grandpa, taking his seat again, listening. "I was with your Grandpa Scotty on the night of your birth. Aunt Sarai and Emma were also there with your grandmas and your dad and Mom. It was a great night, filled with joy, touched by a little fear, however, for your Mom's well-being. You were such a big thing, and getting you born into this world was a bit of a chore for her." Grandpa Terry stopped short, knowing Tanner had no idea what a chore meant. "I mean, it was all tough for your Mom, but well worth it." He paused to make sure Tanner had heard both the mystery and the excitement surrounding his own birth. Satisfied, Tearbear continued. 3 weeks later, I stood just up on the platform at church and snuggled you tightly. Now, the whole church was present. Addie, Peyton, Melanisa, Alyssa, Elena, King, Angel, Sophia, Ann, Dom, your aunts Nikki and Uncle Dennis and Andrew, your great aunts and great uncles, great grandmas and grandpas, Anyway, with my hands, I dipped into the waters of the Church of Jesus and poured them out over you 3 times, saying, Tanner Jacob Mattson, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. You squirmed each time and made noises that we all laughed at, and after the service, and after all the hugs, we went downstairs into the Desert Sands coffee shop and had a great meal. On that day, and by the gift given to Grandpa as a minister of Jesus, you, Tan Man, became a true Christian, though not a real one as yet. Real? Tanner asked. Yes, real. Let's see. How can I explain? You remember how on your 12th birthday, Grandpa Scotty took you hunting and you fired for the first time the .22 rifle he bought you 12 years ago as a gift? How could Tanner forget? Grandpa Scotty did take him and Jack II hunting into the Cascades. Now, Grandpa Scotty would go on long walks. How he loved his grandpa. Grandpa Terror Bear continued his questions. Wasn't that the first time you fired your gun? How did it feel? Had you wanted to fire it before, and why couldn't you? And how did that gun feel before you fired it the first time? The Tan Man just looked up at his grandpa, not sure how to respond to his shotgun style of questioning, but he was beginning to understand even so. Grandpa just continued without waiting for his grandson to answer. You see, Tanner, your Grandpa Scott bought that for you on the day of your birth, knowing full well it would be, 6 years before you could touch it, another 2 years before you could hold it, and imagine what it would be like to shoot it, and still longer before you actually shot it. Now, was that .22 an actual true gift all these years? Well, the Tan Man nodded yes. Was it yours all these years when Grandpa Scotty kept it for you safe? Yes, Grandpa, it was. Tanner responded, to which Grandpa Terror Bear pressed, But how did you know it was yours? Well, Grandpa Scotty, he told me it was mine. Exactly. Pausing for impact, Grandpa Terror Bear turned directly toward his grandson, and Tanner responded, turning in towards his grandpa. Taking both of Tanner's hands in his now old and wrinkled ones, he asked Tanner, But when did that gun become real to you? Tanner's eyes moistened as the lesson dawned upon him. When I fired the gun for the first time, I suppose, Grandpa. Yes. And now, leaning in, Grandpa Terror Bear almost whispered, And a time is coming. Maybe it's here, now, when God, by His Holy Spirit, will make Jesus real inside you. God will ask you if you, Tanner, are ready to follow Him with all your heart. You'll know it's God. Nobody will ever have to tell you. And when you do, you will become a Christian made real. Until then, Tanner, the church holds the gift safely. Until, that is, you're ready to feel the fire of it.
Tells me a different story. The voice of truth says do not be afraid. And the voice of truth says this is for my glory. Out of all the voices calling